Not every battle is won on the battleground, Dawes said. I respect your caution, but Holden hasn't asked you to be vanguard. Hasn't even asked you to go through the ring gate. Don't assume he's going to demand heroism and sacrifice. I know his reputation, but no one survives the things he survived without having a deep capacity for thoughtfulness and foresight. And more than that, strategy. Holden comes across feckless sometimes, truth, but he's a thinker. What he's doing, it's all from the head. Hey guys, Pete here. I've got a new Expanse video today that's sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Today I'm talking death in the upcoming final season of The Expanse. As we wait for the Season 6 trailer and for Leviathan Falls to drop, it's something I've been thinking about for a couple of reasons. We had two major deaths in Season 5 that will change how things play out in the books, and we're heading into what might be the last season that ever gets made. So it is a real question I have and one I don't know the answer to. I'll be getting into all of that, but before I do, a quick spoiler warning. In case you're not familiar with my videos, I do refer to the books which I've read, but I won't be giving away anything specific. Not everyone in and around the Rossi is still alive going into the final book, but I won't be saying who, how, or when they go out. And with that out of the way, let's get started. Last season we lost Fred Johnson, which was kind of a shock to book readers because there he survived being shot in the assault on Tycho Station. When the writers were asked about making the change, they said they did so because they thought the story needed to have costs. They felt that they were making a war story that didn't feel very heavy because all the main characters seemed untouchable. Nothing would ever happen to them because they're the heroes. And this is something that made sense to me. The first time I read them, by the time I made it to the 5th book, the tension was starting to fade when they got to those big moments. I wasn't really worried about Amos or Naomi because no one in the core group had died since Shed. I still enjoyed the books, it didn't take me out of it, but it did feel like there were no real stakes for the crew. Then, at the end of Season 5, we lost Alex. That wasn't as much of a shocker considering the crazy amount of accusations that had been leveled against him as he was out there in the public promoting the series. If you followed that at all, you knew the corporations behind this stuff would be cutting ties with him. It was just a matter if it happened in the 5th season, which had already finished filming, or in between seasons before the final one started shooting. Fred's death was planned from the beginning, and Alex was an unfortunate thing that had to happen, and now there are stakes. They've been established. But if that's their intention, does that mean that we should expect that someone else will die in the final season? And what I think is probably more interesting, is anyone protected for future seasons since right now there aren't any confirmed plans? As far as the 6th book is concerned, Fred was the big surprising death in that, and that is the one they're currently adapting. The situation where he dies will likely still happen, so maybe someone else will take his place. If we're thinking that it's possible, then we have to zoom out and think about all the candidates, and some are more likely than others regardless of how their stories play out in the books. But before we get into that, I need to take a minute to talk about today's sponsor, Surfshark. With Surfshark VPN, you can change your device's location and use the internet from different countries around the globe. Surfshark VPN keeps your online identity safe by encrypting all of the information sent between your device and the internet, and that keeps your personal data protected from big companies or cyber criminals. I use this all the time to unblock geo-restricted content like trailers and clips, and you can also use it to access different libraries in Netflix. Searching for Better Call Saul in the US only shows 4 seasons, but when I switch countries using the VPN, I can access all 5 seasons. Today, if you use my code, you can get 83% off plus 3 extra months free. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it out with no risk. Surfshark even allows you to use your account across unlimited devices, so make sure you follow the link in the description below to sign up. The least likely of all the potential candidates are the remaining crew of Holden, Naomi, and Amos. Of course, it does mean that it would be shocking if any of them die, but it does kind of wreck things if they were thinking about continuing after Season 6 is complete. Naomi and Holden are individual characters. They have their own arcs. They both have great stories, but they're also necessary to each other, especially if we ever see an adaptation of those final 3 stories. I would be blown away if either one of them die. Amidst would make for a memorable event that everyone would be talking about afterward because he is a fan favorite, but he also seems kind of indestructible. And with all the foreshadowing they did with hints about Naomi's kid and the rocks being thrown at Earth and how all of that stuff paid off 5 seasons later, the idea of Amidst being the last man standing seems like it's definitely happening. He says it's in his job description and I believe him. It's just kind of out there getting kicked around, and I do think there's something to it. I would be surprised if something happens to him just like I was with Fred, but with Amidst it would be far more crushing. From there, everyone else seems like fair game. After all, the Rossi might have a lot of extra people on board in season 6. There has to be a new pilot, and it's kind of expected that Bull's gonna step into that role. Amidst got Clarissa on board and she's escaped a life sentence, so she'll be with them at least for a while. And also, Monica was there at the end of season 5, and Bobby was there on Luna with everyone else, which means it's not impossible that she'll hitch a ride either. It could be a crowded place, and some of those people might end up there because they need some casualties on board. Bull is kind of brand new, so they'd have to do some work to make it matter if he got killed. Monica's been around a little bit longer, but there's still a big difference in how I would feel if she died compared to Clarissa or Bobby. They both do important things later in the series, all of the people I mentioned do, but again, that might not matter if they're trying to make this the most gripping season of TV they can. I'm not sure how invested in Clarissa show-only people are. She's a POV character in the book, so you get to know her a lot better, and it feels like the show is still in the process of building her up. For me, it would definitely be sad to see her go, but I've read ahead. For Bobby, they've gone out of their way to keep her in the story ever since they introduced her. She kind of comes and goes in the books, but they put her in the slow zone in the show, and they build a whole story from a novella to keep her involved in season 4. If she's around, she's always in the mix, which means situations might present themselves, and there's a part of me that thinks that she might be the most likely candidate to not make it out alive. Away from the Rossi, the only major characters left are Avasarala and Drummer. Fans would certainly hate to see Avasarala die, but it's kind of hard to think of a scenario that would put her in danger and that would have a real effect on the crew of the Rocinante other than they would just be mourning an ally if she died. It would be a big deal for Bobby, but it still feels kind of far-fetched. There's also a little bit of that with Drummer, although Naomi certainly has a connection with her, but she still seems to be the more likely of these two. Like Bobby, she's probably going to be in the middle of things if she's involved at all, and she should be on the run from the Free Navy after the season 5 finale. Fans love her, so it would be an absolute gut punch if something happened. It would be an Amidst level loss for some people, and you never know where they're going to take her. So will they or won't they? That's the question. It'll be interesting to see if we lose another main character, and I think that's a good place to leave things. I'm curious to hear what you think, so let me know in the comments, and if you want to mention book spoilers, please mark those accordingly. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.